Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to another session of Bhagavad Gita introduction. We are reading sequentially from Bhagavad Gita as it is, and this is our third session reading introduction. We are on page 7 of Bhagavad Gita if you are looking at the hardbound copy of Bhagavad Gita as it is. So let's start. I would like to do a little recap before we move ahead. This is what we discussed last week. We discussed what is Swarupa. Swarupa is relationship. In this world, we have different relationships. And before we came into this world, we had a relationship. After we leave this world, we will still have one eternal relationship, that is our relationship with God. And purpose of our life is to act in all the relationships we have in this world as a service to our relationship with God, because these relationships are a gift from God. We discussed Arjuna's understanding about Krishna. Arjuna understands Krishna as Param Brahman, the supreme conscious being. He understands Krishna as Param Dhama, the resting place of everything. Pavitram, Krishna is purest. He understands Krishna as Purusham, supreme enjoyer. He understands Krishna as transcendental, Divyam. He understands Krishna as Vibhum, greatest. And we also saw that Arjuna's understanding about Krishna is supported by evidence. The evidence is his understanding is backed up by our acharyas who have dedicated their lives to propagating the mission of Krishna consciousness. The acharyas like Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, they all have the same understanding as Arjuna has. How to understand Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita should be understood in the spirit of devotion and in a prayerful mood, like Arjuna is understanding. Theoretically, to understand, to accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead helps us to move forward and explore further into the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to put an end to the difficulties of life. And what are the difficulties of life? We discussed the difficulties of life are old age, birth, death, suffering. Nobody wants to suffer, get old, or leave this world, but we all have to. And so we left last week with a question: why there is suffering, and what are we supposed to do when we are in this world? So let's start off from there. The agenda for today, what we will be discussing today is inquiry, jigyasa, Krishna's merciful nature, the 5 basic truths that Bhagavad Gita talks about. We will be touching on them today, and then as we move forward, Prabhupada will help us expand on these 5 basic truths in Bhagavad Gita. We will be exploring the statement given by Krishna. Krishna says, material nature is working under my direction. Jiva, which is one of the 5 basic truths, is termed as part and parcel. So we will be looking into that one. And then we will see what are the different qualities of material nature. Material nature is also one of the five basic truths. We'll start with prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who, with the torchlight of knowledge, has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My dear Lord, in the spiritual energy of the Lord, kindly engage me in your service. I am now embarrassed with this material service. Please engage me in your service. Jigyasa, inquiry, awakening to the position of questioning his service, his suffering. So, our human life starts when we start thinking, why are we in this world and why are we suffering, and what needs to be done in order to make a solution out of this suffering. Coming to a position of making a resolve or a solution to this suffering. That is the goal of human life. So Prabhupada says that humanity begins when this sort of inquiry begins in one's mind. Usually one is going with the flow of life and forgets to inquire about, hey, why am I in this world? What am I supposed to do? From where did I come? And where will I be going after this life ends? And Prabhupada saying, if one is not making such an inquiry, then we are actually not moving in the direction of the goal of human life. Human life has much more to achieve than just being in this world and then leaving the world. And a proper student for understanding Bhagavad Gita is a person who has such an inquiry. A person who is asking the question, why am I suffering? Why? Why do I become old? Why do I get diseased? I don't like all this. But then I undergo all these. And I see everybody else undergoing all these. Some people may say, hey, that's how life is. But here we are being encouraged to inquire why life is like that. And we are being encouraged to think, from where did I come and where will I go? This life is not the only place we are in. Before we came here, we were somewhere, and after we finish our business in this material world, we will go somewhere. So we are being encouraged to look at the big picture of life and become aware of the big picture and then see what we can do about it. Moving on to Krishna's merciful nature. Krishna descends to help us find answers for these questions. So, good news. We are not in this world all by ourselves to find answers to these questions. Krishna is there to help us. And when there is some help, we must be very enthusiastic and happy to take that help. And how is Krishna helping us? He makes Arjuna his student and speaks the Bhagavad Gita for us. We don't have a relationship with Krishna, and when Krishna speaks to us directly, we may not understand Krishna. So, like a mother-in-law always speaks to her daughter in front of her daughter-in-law. To explain the daughter-in-law, she will talk to the daughter. So the daughter-in-law understands, oh, this is the nature of my mother-in-law. Because the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law do not have a relationship. The mother-in-law does not talk directly or chastise directly to the daughter-in-law. She chastises her daughter, so the daughter-in-law listens and the daughter-in-law understands. Similarly, Krishna is talking to Arjuna, so we can listen and understand the teachings that he is speaking to Arjuna. It is important to understand that Arjuna is above all ignorance. He is put in that difficult situation just so he can ask questions about life, about problems of life, and Krishna can answer those questions for us. So Arjuna was put in that situation so he can ask questions and we can listen and understand and apply in our life. And by listening to Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita, we are allowing Krishna to explain us and chalk out a plan of life for us. Planning is very important. Like when we have to build a house, we do a blueprint, we go to the architect, everything's drawn on paper, and we build a model house even before we start building the actual house to see how it looks. And then we embark building the house. Similarly, life is an important project, and to achieve goal of life is the most important project of life. And Krishna is willing to be our architect, and he is chalking out a plan for us so we can achieve the goal of life by speaking the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. And that's Krishna's merciful nature. 5 basic truths. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, that's the first one that's spoken in Bhagavad Gita. Living being, the part and parcel, Jiva, the minute controller. Material nature, Prakriti, we see the nature doing so many things. Sun rising, moon rising, seasons changing. That's all the third basic truth spoken of in Bhagavad Gita, and in Sanskrit it's called as Prakriti. Time. We all move with time. Our activities of the day happen with time. And that's the fourth truth discussed. The fifth one is karma. We will see them more as we move on. Material nature is working under my direction. That's what Krishna says. What does that mean? When we see a car going on the road, a child may think, be amused how the car's moving on the road. The child may not be aware that there is a driver sitting in the car, and because the driver is driving the car is moving. If that is not the case, the car cannot move. But an adult watching the car very well knows that the driver is sitting right in the car, and that's the reason car can move. Similarly, when we see the material nature working perfectly well, we know that behind this material nature is a controller, is somebody is driving this material nature. Somebody is driving the way wonderfully things are happening in this world. Sun rises every day at a particular time. There are vegetables for us which grow. There is rain. There is water. Like all the needs of a living entity are being met by the material nature. And the material nature is working in this way under Krishna's direction. Jiva, the part and parcel of Krishna, like a drop of water from the ocean is salty. If we observe a drop of water from the ocean and we see it is salty, we know the nature of the ocean as being salty. Similarly, we, being the part and parcel of Krishna, have the same nature as Krishna. Krishna is the supreme controller. He controls this whole universe. The material nature moves under his direction. And we, the Jiva, are also minute controllers. We control our household. We decide what happens and what does not happen in our house. We are also controlling things at a very minute level, and Krishna is controlling things at a universal level. Qualities of material nature, we have mode of goodness. These are the qualities that the material nature carries along with it. In the mornings, we feel fresh and nice. We want to do meditation, we want to go for a walk. It's a mode of goodness. Mode of passion, as the day moves on, we we want to achieve things, we want to accomplish things, we want to move around. Mode of ignorance, as the day passes towards night, we are tired and we want to take rest. One may feel that I want to do meditation, or I want to accomplish things, or I want to sleep. A different way of looking at it is I'm being influenced by a particular mode, and under the influence of that mode, I want to do a particular activity. Like during the day, I don't feel like sleeping. Sometimes we do, but during the day, I don't feel like sleeping. Or in the night, I don't work. So, what Krishna is saying is by the combination of these modes of nature, under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. So, these modes are acting on us, and under these modes, we do certain activities, and these activities are called as karma. So, this was our session for today. Please feel free to send in any comments or questions if you have in the chat box, either now or you can message me later. Happy to answer the questions. Nice to be with all of you and read this section of Bhagavad Gita together. Hope you all enjoyed it. Have a wonderful weekend and a week ahead. Hare Krishna to everyone. Thank you.